Hello, I'm Armin Budish. Welcome to Golden Opportunities.
Today, here's to your health. We've scheduled a checkup to check out the latest medical news. Then it's time to take a peek at your portfolio. We'll explain why it's important to evaluate your investments. Plus, we'll feature fashion finds of designer-exclusive attire and what you should and should not store in a safe deposit box.
It's time to get GOing, so pull up a chair and join us at our kitchen table for Golden Opportunities. When you hear the word trauma, what do you think? Dramatic injury, unavoidable accident? Deanna Harris has a different definition that may come as a big surprise. Deanna's a clinical nurse manager and chief flight nurse for Metro Life Flight at Metro Health. She's here with ways to avoid trauma for seniors. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
All right, so what's the meaning of trauma, the real meaning?
Trauma is anything that produces injury or causes you to seek medical attention. And what we've been learning recently in trauma care is that trauma is not just something that we think happens all the time. It's something that if you break some of the chains and the link of care, that you can prevent trauma and prevent falls and things like that.
So things like a fall or car accidents, those are accidents. How do you prevent an accident?
Well, a lot of the public thinks that that is an accident, and there's steps that you can take to prevent those. It's not just something that's predictable. It's
but they call them accidents. They don't call them not on purposes. You know, I mean, so how would you prevent the trauma from a fall, for example?
Well, falls, especially for older adults, that if you are wearing stable shoes, you're getting your eyes examined, that your walkways are clear and well lit. Those are all things that you can do to help prevent that. It's not going to take it away completely, but it will definitely help you prevent some of those things. And
working on your balance and making sure that that's in tip-top shape, those sorts of things.
Exactly.
All right, falls I can understand. You know, if you're in a car and somebody blindsides you, you can't prevent that, can you?
Well, there are certain things that you can do, you know, especially with winter here right now, that, you know, when you're cleaning off your car and you only have that little circle where you can see cleaning off your entire car, making sure that you have good mobility, that when you turn your neck, that you have full mobility to see, that you have your hearing exams, that you can make sure that you're able to hear sirens and other things that you need to hear.
Okay, now taking all these precautions, and you listed a whole bunch of them for car accidents, which is great, thank you. There's something that I was not aware of. You can put important information connected to your driver's license so that if you do have a trauma and you can't verbally tell people like you who come to save us, you know, who to call.
Right.
That information can be made publicly, not publicly, but available to the police or the EMS people.
Right. Frequently when we're called to accident scenes or crash sites, as we like to call them, you're either have so much adrenaline that you can't think, it alters your mental status and ability to recall important numbers, or you're so injured that you might not be breathing and we have to take that over for you, so consequently you can't talk. So this is for anybody in Ohio, but particularly seniors, where you can go to this website and you can register 2 emergency contact numbers. A lot of times phones are either damaged or we can't bring them from the site because we're more important things are to take care of you versus taking your personal belongings.
So I want to make this clear to people because this is very important. The website we have on the screen right now, bmv.ohio.gov, people can go to that website and go to BMV Online Services and Next of Kin emergency contact information, and they can put into the website, you know, your spouse or your children or whoever is your next your emergency called person.
Right.
And then somebody like you who goes to the scene of an accident would check that immediately and would know who to call?
Only the police officers can obtain that. I want to stress that not anybody can see this. Only police officers can see this, and they can pull that information if you go to the website and put it there.
But it doesn't go physically on your driver's license.
No, it doesn't.
And the public can't see it.
The public can't see it. It's very secure. Only police officers can give us that information at trauma centers.
Well, this is very helpful. Thank you very much for letting us in on that.
My pleasure.
All right, don't be an accident waiting to happen. Follow Deanna's advice and make sure you do everything you can to avoid trauma. And add your emergency contact numbers to your license in case you are in an accident. For more information, use the information that's coming up next. My thanks to Deanna for joining us today.
Find out more by calling Metro Health at 216-778-7800 or visit www.metrohealth.org. Want more Metro Health medical information? Be sure to tune in to WTAM 1100 Radio each Saturday morning at 7 for Metro Health and You, hosted by Dr. Christine Alexander. Next, are your investments earning their keep? But first, resolutions, a kiss at midnight, and singing Auld Lang Syne. These tried and true New Year traditions are typical, but there's another rite that revolves around anything round. So why is this shape special? We'll circle back soon with the answer.
I know the devastating effects that back pain can have not just on you, but your entire family. Instead of covering up your pain with drugs or surgery, we offer a procedure called non-surgical decompression. Decompression increases spinal disc space and it draws nutrients back into the disc. This allows healing to take place from the inside out. So if you're suffering with chronic pain, there is hope. I invite you to call our office to see if this proven treatment option can mean freedom from your pain.
A ring shape is said to symbolize completion of a full circle, just like the end of one year rings in another. So some believe anything round will fetch good fortune, allowing them to indulge in donuts and consume a few round cakes as they wish one and all a happy new year.
It's important to evaluate your investments to ensure your portfolio is performing positively. But what's the best way you can check up on your stock status? Mark Niederhellman is here to help us understand how indexes may be used to benchmark our portfolio performance. Mark's a financial advisor with the Lineweaver Financial Group. Thanks for joining us today.
Armin, my pleasure.
So, indexes, like things like the Dow, you compare your stocks against how the Dow's doing? Is that how you make a decision?
That's exactly right. The Dow is just one example of an index, and there are multiple indexes out there. First of all, let's define what an index is.
Yeah.
An index is just a measurement of a broad measure of the market or some specific measure of the market. Think of it as a financial barometer. Now,
Okay.
a lot of times people make a mistake. They have a well-diversified portfolio, and they're using a very broad market index to evaluate their portfolio, when their portfolio is really made up of individual components. So they might want to be taking a look at multiple indexes to evaluate their portfolio. And I don't think a lot of investors are doing this today.
Well, when you say multiple indexes, I know about the Dow.
Right.
And I've heard of the Standard & Poor 500.
Right, right.
And there's more?
There are a lot of indexes, Armin. The Dow and the S&P 500 are the go-to indexes because they're so widely published. I think they're very good instruments for taking a glimpse at what the market's doing on a day-to-day basis and then comparing that to your portfolio. But let's say that you have international funds or international holdings in your portfolio. I don't think that the Dow Jones Industrial Average would be the right benchmark to compare your international holdings to see how they're performing. Likewise, I don't think you'd want to use any kind of a market index to see how your CDs are performing, what the interest rates are doing. That really isn't comparing apples to apples.
So if we want an apple-to-apple comparison, where do we look to get that?
Well, I think you need to look at the specific sector of the market that you're investing in and then find the index that's paired to that. let's take small cap stocks. There are a couple of small cap indexes out there. I'll give you an example. The Russell 2000 is an index that's made up of 2,000 companies that have median capitalizations, the size of the stock
so those are
value.
small companies, basically.
Small cap companies. So you would want to use a small cap index to judge the performance of your small cap stocks.
Is there a place, I mean, I think a lot of people, including me, don't even know how to characterize a particular stock. I mean, is it small? Is it big? Is it technology? Is it, you know, diversified? I mean, where do you, is there, I don't know, a book to go to or an internet website or something to figure out how do we characterize our stock and what index would be appropriate?
Yes. All right. Let's use a mutual fund as an example. Let's say that you hold a mutual fund. You can go to that mutual fund company's website or another website like Yahoo Finance to see how that mutual fund is characterized. Okay. Is it a technology fund? If it's a technology fund, then you're going to want to find a technology index that you can use to compare that to. You can go online to someplace like Yahoo Finance or Investopedia, or if you don't have internet access, go to the library, pick up a simple book on personal finance. You'll be able to find a lot of information there.
And you wouldn't say this, but if you have a financial advisor, go to the financial advisor. I'm sure they can give you help.
That's
too.
what you have them for.
All right. Thank you very much for coming in. Good information.
Armin, my pleasure.
When it comes to your portfolio, knowledge is power. So follow Mark's advice. Get informed about indexes. And if you need help, give him a call. The number's coming up next.
For more information, call the Lineweaver Financial Group at 1-888-313-4009 or log on to www.lineweaver.net. Looking for places to go, things to do? Welcome to our community calendar. The holidays will shine until January 5th thanks to Glow at the Cleveland Botanical Garden. This all-new event of seasonal cheer includes making a wish on the wishing tree, the returning tradition of a host of homemade gingerbread houses, and fun on ice as you skate at the rink at Wade Oval. To unwrap the details, call 216-721-1600 or let your fingers fly to www.cbgarden.org.
Mary Sheehan is an example of adults creating a second act for themselves. What was her first act? She was a pharmacist. Her second act? Let's call it being a connections coach. Mary's here as a model for making the second part of your life as interesting as the first, and to help us make connections that count. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So you now own your own company called Prescriptions for Happiness. How does someone go from being a pharmacist to helping for people relate better? I'm not sure I see the connection.
Ah, okay. Well, in the pharmacy, I'd have basically 30 seconds with the customer. That meant I would have to gain their trust instantly and be able to really get to the bottom of what it was that they needed from me. And I found that often it wasn't always about the pill, it was about the person. So really, the process is the same with what I do as a coach as well as the issues, because now I just give advice without the pills.
All right, so when you talk about connecting people, it's like building relationships, and today we have all kinds of ways to connect. We have Facebook, we have cell phones, we have Twitter, we have text. And so don't we have plenty?
Well, let me give you an example. A 22-year-old sent me a text, of course, because she's 22. She had a job interview, she was intimidated, and she wanted to stand out. So I suggested via text that she should write a handwritten thank you note. And I got back one of those emoticons, you know, where the eyes are big and the mouth is hanging open. And I told her not only should you handwrite a note, but also write why you'd love to work for the company and why you'd make a great candidate. And it would show them that you knew how to connect. And she thought about it and she ended up doing it. And I'd like to think that if she does get the job, I hope she does, that was a part of it.
Great. How do we create positive connections? Tell us how to do it.
Well, I'll give you an example from my own life. After long days at the pharmacy, I would come home both wound up and exhausted, which is not a good combination. I'd come in ready to kind of let loose on my poor unsuspecting husband. He wouldn't even look up, and I'd become angry. And I realized, you know, that is not good. That's not working for me. So now, if it's been a long day, I take a moment, call them on the phone, check in, what kind of mood are you in? Here's where I'm at. Can I have some time? Gives them 20 minutes to prepare for what's coming through the door. 6 minutes I unload, and then I have the whole rest of the evening to have a lovely time in my lovely home with my loving husband.
Now, that works if you're good to connect with and he's good to connect with. What if you're dealing with somebody who's not so good with connections?
Right. I get this a lot with people with work problems, and one particular one, I'll give you an example, are the complainers. So I'll give you 3 ways to deal with someone who's complaining. First thing is to not take it personally. It is their stuff. Don't pick up their bag. Don't judge. Observe. That's another good tip. And also to don't react. Acknowledge. Like a lot of times if someone is just complaining they're in a bad space and you just acknowledge, hey sister, it's okay, we'll get back to it. So I teach these kinds of things that at first seem awkward because anger is a knee-jerk reaction, but then people get a hold of it and they use it and it works, and over time it becomes a new way to deal with people, and then before you know it, you're working with the best people in the world.
So what you're here to do is, if any of our viewers, for example, are having trouble building relationship with somebody at work, somebody at the senior center, maybe one of their kids, that's where they would call you and you could help them?
Right. I could help them with perspective, because we see things only through our eyes. Like my eyes only look out, but the other person is looking at you. So I help people see perspective and also really get to the crux of the problem. I mean, someone can lay 49 things on me. I'll find the one thing that is truly the problem, hone in on it, get it solved.
Sounds very helpful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good luck with your new business.
Thank you so much.
If you're not living happily ever after, you can find new ways, or a new career actually, to make your life more meaningful. Follow Mary's advice. And for more information, you can call her 330-592-5793, or you can go to her website, www.prescriptionsforhappiness.com.
Next, Dior and more. It's time to get up and go, an exercise minute on golden opportunities.
Hello everybody, I'm Mike Harbin from Breakout Fitness, and today we're here to show you how to work your back and your bicep muscles by doing a bent over row. You ready to show them?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. We're going to start standing with our feet shoulder width apart. We're going to have our dumbbells in our hands at our side. Now we're going to get in a slight squat position. All you want to do is kind of lean into that so the dumbbells can swing naturally out in front of you. From here, you're going to bring the dumbbells up to the chest, bringing your arms straight up to your back. Your elbows should become an extension of your shoulders. Slow and steady, slow and controlled movements. Don't bounce or rock when you're trying to bring those weights up. How you doing?
You too can look like us.
No time at all, absolutely, good job. All right, everybody, 12 to 15 repetitions, slow and controlled movements, and as always, remember to breathe. Now it's your turn to get up and go.
For your copy of the exercise booklet, please send $1 for postage to Golden Opportunities, 23240 Chagrin Boulevard, Suite 450, Beechwood, Ohio, 44122.
They've come out of the closet and are ready to be labeled. It's time to meet the clothes that made the cut for Cleveland's fashion elite from the turn of the 20th century to the 1980s. Now you can see dozens of these designs on display. They're all part of Dior and More, an exhibit at the Western Reserve Historical Society. It shows fashion can be more than window dressing. Danielle Peck is here to run down a few of these runway classics. Danielle is the Senior Registrar at Western Reserve Historical Society, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So Dior top drawer designer, are you saying high fashion females in our area wore designer duds?
Oh yes. Cleveland women have always been fashionable, and our collections help support that fact. We have everything from Paris house haute couture to luxury ready-to-wear with some American designers as well, and they've been worn by some notable Cleveland women, and also the Western Reserve of Ohio, including Mrs. Kenyon C. Bolton and Mrs. Harvey Firestone Jr. from the Firestone Company.
Very good. And to put this exhibit together, to get all these beautiful dresses, you didn't have to go shop around, did you?
No, the curators went shopping in our own collections for that. We had very great designers to choose from. Some of the heavy hitters like Christian Dior, from when Christian Dior was still alive, Jacques Fath, Balmain, Balenciaga, you name it, we've got it.
Well, those names sure mean a lot to me, but take us on a tour of a few of these fashion finds that you have.
Well, we start the exhibit with a wonderful blue Christian Dior Spring-Summer 1954 ensemble. And it just shows his mastery of the craft. It's a navy blue silk with a very nice waist, worn by Mrs. Firestone.
This would have been from about what time period?
1954.
Great, great.
And it's just stunning.
This one, what's this?
This is a very interesting designer known as, his name is Bob Bugnon, and he was a Paris designer who actually had an elite salon in New York. So his clients could come to New York for the fittings, select the ensembles. The work was done in Paris, so it was considered haute couture, and then it was shipped back to the States to do the final fittings so that the women didn't have to be going to Europe all the time to select their designs.
And the designer of this dress also designed for people like Mrs. Kennedy, I understand.
Yes, he had a very select and very good clientele. Even the Duchess of Windsor, Jacqueline Kennedy, and Mrs. Firestone was also a notable client.
Now the frocks in the collection focus on Cleveland women, but there was an exception to that, right?
Yes, we will make the exception for Audrey Hepburn. We have her second wedding ensemble from her wedding to Dr. Andrea Doty, and it is a pink twill, and it's actually the dress and the coat underneath it. She was married in January in Switzerland, so we have the coat because it would have been cold. And then years later, her son, Sean Hepburn Ferrer, contacted us, and while cleaning out his mother's closet, found the hat that goes with the wedding ensemble, and contacted us, and we said we would be delighted to have it, so it was paired together.
Very good.
So she is an exception to the Northeast Ohio rule, but we'll make that exception for Audrey.
Well, it's a great exhibit. I encourage our viewers to go take a look. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The exhibit is Dressed for Success, and you can see the complete fashion show at the Western Reserve Historical Society now through March 2014. My thanks to Danielle Peck, Western Reserve Historical Society Senior Registrar, for a model presentation.
To find out more, call the Western Reserve Historical Society at 216-721-5722 or click to www.wrhs.org. Next, do you need a safe deposit box?
The newest masterpiece at the Cleveland Museum of Art is the Cleveland Museum of Art, with a soaring, light-infused atrium, completely redesigned galleries for every work of art, and the culinary splendor of provenance. These are just part of your magnificent new Cleveland Museum of Art. Come see Cleveland's masterpiece. Come see amazing.
Did you miss a phone number or a website? Here's your second chance, because we're going to list all that information again. Then we'll be back to tell you which items are tops for putting in your safe deposit box. Is it worth keeping a safe deposit box? And if you do, what should you keep in it? And maybe even more important, what should you not keep in it? Here to deposit his advice with us about safe deposit boxes is my law partner, Mike Solomon. Thanks for joining us, Mike. All right, Mike, so should we have a safe deposit box, or do we not need them anymore?
Well, I still tell clients and friends they ought to have a safety deposit box. So you put things in there, it's going to be safe from theft, It's going to be safe from, let's say, fire, and it's private. Even a bank can't get into your safety deposit box.
What should we put in the box?
Well, you ought to put, valuable documents or things that have economic value in the box. Let me talk about documents first. For example, you might want to, it'd be hard, if you lost your birth certificate, it's hard to replace it. Birth certificates, marriage certificates, a death certificate of your spouse, your trust documents or a copy of it, or insurance policies, or even a list. If you have a lot of insurance policies, at least make a list of the policies.
All right, now those are documents. What about valuables?
Well, you ought to put in things like if you have a coin collection, or valuable jewelry, or stocks or bonds. That's important stuff that would be, if you lost, be hard to replace. And then also family photos, maybe that you don't use that often. Put it in the box.
All right, so documents and valuables, certain ones into the box. What should not go in the box?
Well, about everything else. In particular, don't put your financial power of attorney or your healthcare power of attorney in the box, because those are important documents. If you need them in an emergency, you might not be able to get into the lockbox. What
about things like your jewelry or family photos?
Well, if you don't use them that often, put them in the box, then they're safe. But if it's something you use a lot, like jewelry, or for some reason you're using a photo a lot, then keep it at home. Keep it in a safe place. Maybe buy a home vault or at least a little box to put all that stuff in to keep it secure.
And one thing that's important, you need to make sure that somebody else can get into the box. So if something happens to you, there's somebody else named with the bank that can get in there and have access.
Yeah, that's really important.
And have the key.
That's right, because if you don't have that, it's going to be very difficult. So either put another person on the right to enter the box, maybe the power of attorney, whoever you made the power, the agent, or your executor, and then you're right. Tell them where the key is, because if they can't find it, they're going to have to drill it open, and that's expensive.
Thank you, Mike. Good advice.
Okay.
A safe deposit box can still be the best place to keep your most valuable items. Yes, there's a cost, but if your valuables are lost or stolen, the cost, both financial and personal, may be much higher. We'll be right back.
Call Budish, Solomon, Steiner, and Peck at 1-888-236-5173 for more information, or to schedule a speaker for your organization, or log on to www.budishandsolomon.com.
Thanks for joining us. Next week, we're back to our regular time, 11:30 a.m., right after Meet the Press and before Channel 3's Noon News. So be sure to tune in at 11:30 next week. Until next week, please remember to make the most of your golden opportunities and have a very happy and healthy new year.
Would you like to join our kitchen conversation? All you have to do is call toll-free 1-877-765-1543 and leave us your question, name, and phone number. Or log on to www.golden.tv for all the latest information and show updates.